So far we have discussed about the translational motion, that is the motion occurring in a straight line or in a curve. But what happens if the motion occurs in a circle? Okay, for example, planets moving around the sun. So what about the circular motion when the path is a circle? So in this chapter we will be discussing about the circular motion. What is the meaning of circular motion? So as we discussed a few things like displacement, velocity, acceleration, and the equations of motion for the translational type of motion. Similarly, there are angular velocity, angular displacement, angular acceleration for the circular motion. So just like there was displacement, we will have angular displacement. Just like there was velocity, we will have angular velocity. Okay, so what is the meaning of angular here? So before we start, let's draw a circle. So let's say there is some object which is moving in this circle, okay, in the path of this circle. So the motion of this particle will be considered as a circular motion. So let's suppose the particle starts from point A, and after certain time it reaches point B. It starts from point A and after certain time it reaches point B. So now there is this angle that the particle has subtended in time period t. So this angle theta is sometimes used as the term this is sometimes referred to as angular displacement. So this theta is sometimes called angular displacement or distance. So what does this mean? So this means that the particle A has the particle has reached from point A to point B, and what was the angle subtended? Theta. So that theta that was subtended is called the angular displacement. So this tells us about the displacement in terms of the angle. Okay, so therefore the angular displacement. Now similarly there is this one term called omega, which is called the angular velocity. Omega represents the angular velocity, that is the rate of change of angular displacement with respect to time. And then there will be this term called alpha, which will represent the angular acceleration, rate of change of angular velocity with time. So we have angular displacement, angular velocity, and angular acceleration. So what will be the formula for angular velocity? So the formula will be rate of change of angular displacement with respect to time. What will be the formula for angular acceleration? Rate of change of angular velocity with time. Just like there was usual velocity, which was rate of change of displacement with time, and acceleration was rate of change of velocity with time. So we have angular terms here in this particular topic. So these are the two important equations. Now if you remember, we got three equations of motion as well. What were the three equations of motion? One was x equal to ut plus half at square. One was v equal to u plus at, and one equation was v square equal to u square plus 2ax. So these were the three equations of motion that we discussed previously. So similarly here we will have angular analogy of this equation, angular analogy. So what we will get, at place of displacement we will get angular displacement, at place of velocity we will get angular velocity, and at place of acceleration we will get angular acceleration. Time will remain as it is. There is no such thing as angular time. So the equation will become theta equal to omega naught t plus half alpha t square. Omega equal to omega naught plus alpha t. omega square equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha theta. So what are the meanings of these terms? So the first term is the angular displacement. Angular displacement. This is initial angular velocity. Obviously t is time. Alpha is angular acceleration. Then this is final angular velocity. Again this is initial angular velocity, and this again is angular acceleration. This is the time period. Similarly, the same things are in the third equation as well. Initial final velocities, angular acceleration and angular displacement. So it is quite simple. Whatever we have understood in the usual translational motion, that can be applied in the circular motion, just the angular terms will be used for that. Next we'll discuss about the relation between the linear and the angular displacements. Linear, that means the usual translational displacement, velocity or acceleration. So we will discuss about the linear and angular relations right now. So relation between linear quantities, that is linear displacement, velocity and acceleration, and the angular quantities. So the first relation will be between the linear displacement and angular displacement. So this will be the first relation that we need to discuss. So when you solve this, you will find that the relation between linear displacement and angular displacement can be found out using this scenario. Let's say we have this circular motion, circular path. Let's say this is the axis. Now let's say the particle went from point A to a small distance dr away from it. Point A to some small distance dr away. Now let's say the angle is small, okay, d theta. So a small angular displacement is there. Now let's consider that this is a small displacement dr, and let's say the radius is r. So we know that one formula is angle is approximately equal to arc upon radius. When the angle is small, this formula is valid. So what we will get, let's say the angle is small angle, that is d theta, arc is dr, okay, this is small arc, okay, dr upon the radius. So radius is r. So what we will get, dr is equal to r d theta. So this is the linear, small linear displacement, okay, linear displacement. This is the radius of the circle, and this is the angular displacement, small angular displacement. So this is the relation between the linear and the angular displacements. Now let's start the next relation, that is the linear and angular velocity. So let's again take one example. We have this circle. Let me draw a bit smaller. This is the circle. Now there is this center, and there is a point A and there is a point B. So the particle is moving from initial point A to the final point B, and in that situation the displacement is d theta. Let's say angular displacement is d theta, and the uh, path that the particle is traveled is approximately dr, and the radius is, obviously we know, radius is r vector. So what is the angular velocity? It is d theta by dt, and we know that d theta will be equal to dr by r as discussed above. So we can what we can do here, we can write dr equal to r d theta. Now what will be d theta? D theta will be omega dt from here. So dr equal to r, and at the place of d theta we will get omega dt. So what we will get? We will get dr by dt equal to r omega, and we know that the rate of change of linear displacement is the velocity. So velocity is equal to r omega. So this is our relation for the linear velocity and the angular velocity. This is the linear velocity, this is the radius, this is the angular velocity. Okay, so dr by d theta is equal to v, rate of change of linear displacement is the linear velocity. So this is how we can get the relation between linear and angular velocities. Now next we can similarly find the relation between linear acceleration and angular acceleration, but before we do that, let me just write the vector form of this equation. So the as we know, velocity is a vector quantity, so the vector form of this equation will be v vector is equal to omega cross r vector. So this is very important. Let me write this in that order as well. Omega r, angular velocity and radius. Okay, so the vector notation is like v equal to omega cross r. Now what is this cross? Cross is representing the cross product or the vector multiplication, if you remember from the chapter in which we discussed about vector multiplication. So this is also, this can also be written like this: v equal to omega r sine theta, n cap. Okay, n cap tells us about the direction of the particle, which is perpendicular, it either outward or inward. It depends on the right hand rule. We will discuss the right hand rule afterwards. Now what about angular acceleration and linear acceleration? So for discussing that, we need to first discuss the types of acceleration in the circular motion. Okay, so let's say this is a circle, so the motion is in this circle. So there are two types of accelerations in a circular motion. One is the tangential acceleration. This is the tangential acceleration, which is along the tangent, and one is the radial acceleration, which is along the radial direction, like this. Okay, this direction. So this is the radial acceleration. So we have two different methods or formulas for radial acceleration and the tangential acceleration. Now the formula for the radial acceleration is equal to v square by r, or it is also written like omega square r. So you need to remember these formulas for radial acceleration, otherwise you will get confused with the radial and the tangential accelerations. So this is the formula for the radial acceleration. Now let's discuss the relation between the the linear acceleration and the angular acceleration. Linear and angular accelerations. So what is the relation between them? So we know that velocity is equal to omega cross r vector. We know that the usual linear acceleration is the rate of change of linear velocity. So we will get d by dt omega cross r vector. Okay. Then next let's differentiate it. So now we will use the product rule here. We will first differentiate omega and then differentiate r. So we can write it like this: r is constant and d omega by dt, plus let's consider omega constant and differentiate with respect to r. So what are we doing here is that while differentiating we are applying the product rule, which you might not have studied yet, but it is quite simple. If we have two quantities which are multiplied, then first differentiate one quantity considering other as constant, and then differentiate other quantity considering the other quantity as the constant. So we will get this value. Now if you notice, we know that d omega by dt, this is the angular acceleration, and we know that dr by dt, this is the linear velocity. So what we will get ultimately is acceleration is equal to r and then alpha, then omega and velocity. If you properly rearrange all this, so you will get one thing. You will get acceleration equal to omega cross v plus alpha cross r. So this will be the value for the linear acceleration. Okay, this will be the value for the linear acceleration. So here we have two components. One is the radial component and one is the tangential component. So what is the radial component? Radial component is this one. This is the radial component of the acceleration, radial acceleration. And what will be the tangential component? This will be the tangential component of acceleration. Now radial component is also called sometimes centripetal acceleration, and the tangential acceleration is sometimes called the transverse acceleration. So as I told you, there are two types of accelerations in the circular motion, tangential and radial. So when we derive the value for linear acceleration, so we get two components, one the radial acceleration component and one is the tangential acceleration component. So let me just tell you this thing, that just keep this difference in mind, otherwise you will get confused in between radial and tangential component. So just keep the difference in radial and acceleration component of acceleration to be very clear in your mind. Remember the formulas as well. So now if you want to find the magnitude, just this is a vector quantity having direction and magnitude both. So if you only want to find the magnitude, you can find using this formula: radial component of acceleration square plus tangential component of acceleration square. Okay, what I am saying, this is the radial component and this is the tangential component. So you can find the magnitude using the formula that we discussed in the vector calculus. And how can you find the angle or the direction? So by tan theta will be equal to radial component upon the tangential component. You will get r omega square by r alpha, which will give you omega square by alpha. So by this you can find the direction. So this one the magnitude, this is the magnitude, and this one is the direction of the displacement. Magnitude and the direction. So just keep this in mind. So these are the various relationships between angular and linear components of let's say displacement, velocity and acceleration. Now obviously if there is the circular motion, then there must be a force which is responsible for that circular motion. So let me first just describe in short what is the meaning of uniform circular motion, and then we'll start with what is the reason behind uniform circular motion. So uniform circular motion is the motion in which the magnitude of the velocity is not changing and only the direction is changing. So what is uniform circular motion? Magnitude of angular velocity is constant, only the direction is changing. Or to be more precise, I can just write a magnitude of the velocity for now. Magnitude of the velocity is constant, and the direction is obviously changing. In circular motion, the direction changes all the time because you are moving in a circle. So because of that, at every point when you are moving on the circle, your direction is changing. How do you find the direction on a circle? By drawing a tangent at that particular point. You find the direction at that particular location. So your direction is always changing in the circular motion. So you cannot do anything about the direction. So what is uniform circular motion? When the magnitude of the velocity is constant, then we say that the motion is uniform circular motion. And what we have discussed is mainly about uniform circular motion in all these particular relations about linear and angular acceleration. So during that uniform circular motion, there is this force called centripetal force. The centripetal force is the force responsible for the uniform circular motion. So again, let's say this is a circular motion. So we know that if something is moving in a circle, then there must be some force which is holding the particle towards the center, otherwise this particle will fly off. So there is this force which is holding the particle in a circle. Now that force can be termed as the centripetal force. The force is in this direction, okay. So that and obviously if the force is in this direction, then there will be one acceleration also here. So obviously that is the radial acceleration. So this force which is center seeking, the center seeking force is called the centripetal force. Center and centripetal, that is center loving, you can say that. The centripetal force is the force which is center seeking, which is which acts towards the center of the circle. So the value of this centripetal force is equal to m and the radial acceleration, and we know that the radial acceleration is equal to v square by r. We discussed this. The radial acceleration is v square by r. So what we will get? The value of the centripetal force is equal to mv square by r. So this is quite interesting. We can also write this in other forms as well, like we can write this as like fc equal to m then omega square r. Why? Because again we know that the radial acceleration can be omega square r as well. This is quite simple, okay. What we have used here is that v is equal to omega by r. So by that property we are getting this formula. sorry, r omega, v equal to r omega. So these two formulas are very important. Okay, as we now know about the dynamics of the circular motion, that what is angular velocity, angular acceleration, the centripetal force, we can now discuss a few examples of circular motion. For example, let's discuss about the circular turnings. Circular turnings. So you must have while riding a bicycle or a vehicle, you must have took some turns. Okay, so sometimes that turn can be quite steep, and or it can be like a circle, it can be like a part of a circle. Okay, the road might be like this and the turn might be like this. So that part is that turn is a part of a circle, like here it is a part of a circle. So let's say if you are moving on a circular track, so now let's say we have this situation that we have this road with some width. So this will be the inner radius and this will be the outer radius. So this is our road. This part will be our road. So let's say there is a vehicle, which is moving, let's say in this direction, velocity v, and obviously there will be a force of friction in this direction, or there will be some force. We will discuss what type of force is it. So before we discuss about Fs, let's discuss about the forces which are on the vehicle. First is the, let me write, external forces on the vehicle. First is the weight of the vehicle, that is mg. Let's say the mass of the vehicle is m. Second force will be normal contact force, that is usually represented by n. So normal force is the force which will be applied upward, in the upward direction, okay, by the road. Then the third force is the frictional force, that we have represented by the letter Fs. Now this is the static friction and it is self adjustable. So this friction, the value of this friction will vary, and because of that we have written Fs, static friction. So if the road is horizontal, so there what will be the forces? One force will be mg, one force will be normal force. So these two forces will cancel each other out. Okay, weight will be inside the screen and normal force will be outside of the screen. Okay, if you can imagine, we are viewing from the top here. Now what will be the direction of this frictional force? So when the car is moving towards this side, so the friction will be helping the car in moving towards that side. So how is this in this inward direction? Because the car used to or the vehicle will skid outside, and then that friction will try to keep the car inside in the circular part of the road. So ultimately what we will get, frictional force will be similar to frictional force will be provided by the centripetal force. Okay, centripetal force. So the frictional force will be equal to mv square by r. As discussed above, the value of the centripetal force is mv square by r. So let's say the radius of this circle of the or the distance of the car from the center is small r. So this will be the value for this friction, which is allowing the car to move in the circle with and it is opposing the skidding of the car outside. So now we know that what is the usual formula for friction? Mu s n. coefficient of static friction into the normal force. Now the normal force is equal to the weight of the car. Okay, for example, this is the road, the car is here, so the weight is downward for the car and the normal force is acting upward. So N is equal to mg. So we, at the place of N we can write mg, that is the weight of the car. So ultimately we have these two formulas. This is the maximum value of static friction. This is the maximum friction that the road can provide to the tires, and this is the friction depending on the centripetal force. So in order for the car to move safely and not skid outside, the static friction or the friction must friction, usually this static friction will be small, normal friction will be smaller than or equal to the maximum value of the static friction. That is, the maximum static friction is this. So the friction can be only smaller or equal to this value. So that is mv square by r can be smaller or equal to this value. It can never be greater than this value. So from this we will get that mu s is greater or equal to v square by rg. So this tells us about the coefficient of static relation between coefficient of static friction and the velocity. So what we have discussed, let's again repeat. For example, if a car is moving in a circular motion, there are three main forces acting: weight, normal force. They will cancel each other, but there will be this friction force which will help the car in not skidding outside. Okay, it will act towards the center, and because of that it will be provided by the centripetal force. Now we know that the value of static friction is mu s into n, and n is mg. So mu s mg. So this is the maximum value of the static friction. So the friction will be smaller than or equal to the maximum value of the static friction, that is mu s mg. So mv square by r will be smaller or equal to mu s mg. So mu s mg will be greater or equal to v square rg. So this tells us about the relation between the velocity and the coefficient of friction. So what we have here is that the coefficient of static friction is proportional to v square. We can say that. That is, if the velocity is more, then we require more friction. Okay, if the turning velocity is more, if the turning velocity is more, then we need more static friction. Coefficient of static friction is needed. So if you want to turn with a higher velocity, you will require that the friction between the surfaces, tire and the road, must be high, otherwise you will slip outside. Now obviously there is a limit up to which we can have the static friction between the tire and the road, because if the friction is huge, then the tires will get quite damaged quite quickly. So there is one more solution. We bank the roads. Okay, what is banking of a road? We make the road in a manner that the road is banked from inside. That is, the road is like this. The road is banked like this. So this banking of road prevents, or it provides the static friction, and it allows the turn of the car without slipping. So this, let's say this is the car, and there is this theta this normal force is like this. So the amount of banking, that is the amount of tilt in the road, is angle theta. Okay, the weight is obviously always downward. So we see here that the free body diagram looks like this. This is n, this is theta, this is mg. So we get that this force, this is n cos theta, this is n sin theta. As we discussed, the theta component gives the cos component, the side with the theta component gives the cos component, and the other side will be sine component. And this is mv square by r, the centripetal force part, which is acting towards center. Okay, it is quite hard to draw it here, so I have drawn the free body diagram. So what we get is n sin theta is equal to mv square by r, and n cos theta is equal to mg. So ultimately, if we divide them, divide 1 and 2, we will get tan theta. Let me write it fully. So what we will get, and will get cancelled, sin theta upon cos theta is tan theta, so we get v square by rg. So if you know the velocity, then you can say that yeah, this much amount of banking, this much theta is required. So if you compare the formulas, you will get that this is equal to mu s as well, like here. So the banking of road can also provide the necessary friction so that the vehicle can turn without slipping outside. Now let's come to the last part of this chapter, which is very important. We know that the circular motion frame is a non-inertial frame. The circular motion frame is a non-inertial frame. If something is moving in a circular motion, then it is accelerating, and the accelerating frame is a non-inertial frame, as discussed in the previous chapters. So whenever there is a non-inertial frame, then we need to apply some net force. Okay, so for similarly for here, we will apply some net force. So let's say that there is a box, or there is a room, or there is some container in which there is a person sitting on a chair. Now this person is sitting on the chair, and this room is rotating with angular velocity omega. So what will happen, this person will stick towards the wall, if you know what I mean. When you move in a circular motion, you stick towards the surface, room surface. So what are the forces here? One is the normal force acting upward, one is the downward force, which is the weight, and one is the force which is moving you towards the wall. Okay, and then there is this force which is mv square by r, or m omega square r, which is the centripetal force. So what is happening is that when you are moving in a circular motion, then you tend to go towards the wall because of this force. So this is the pseudo force, this is not actual force, but because of the non-inertial frame, because you are moving or because you are accelerating, so because of that you feel this force, and that this force is called as the centrifugal force. Center fighting force, away from the center force. So this centrifugal force is again obviously the value centrifugal force is equal to same as the centripetal force, mv square by r, but it's just the opposite of it. So there are two forces in a circular motion. One force is the central seeking force, which is called the centripetal force. And one force is the force which is center opposing, which is called the centrifugal force. Now this centrifugal force is a pseudo force, that is, it is not an actual force, it is just the force which is due to the accelerating frame of or non-inertial frame of reference, because the object want to move in the straight line, but because of the force the object will come here. So you will feel that there is some force which is pushing you towards the surface or the wall of the room, and that force is not real force, that force is a pseudo force which is due to the acceleration of the circle. So that is the centrifugal force. So the centrifugal force is in simple terms, centripetal force is the force acting inside, and centrifugal force is the force that is acting outside the circle. That is the direction is to away from the center of the circle. Now the concepts of circular motion will be used in the rotational motion as well. So what we have discussed in this particular chapter is about the angular terms, angular displacement, velocity and acceleration. So all those terms will be useful in the rotational motion as well. So once we come to rotational motion, we will again discuss them, and in during that time all these terms will be more clear to you. Sometimes initially when you first see all these terms it is quite confusing, but gradually as you study about them it will become clear to you. So this ends with this topic we end the circular motion chapter, and from next chapter we'll start work and energy, and after that the rotational motion will be there, which is related to the terms we have discussed in the circular motion.